start with a Flea Flicker to open up the night. And he connects with Galladay.
Sup, everyone. It's Timmy B and Joey D, and welcome to this episode of the Flea Flicker. We are going to recap the conference championship games that happened a couple of days ago, and we are recording this on Thursday because Joe's birthday was on Monday, so he was busy. My birthday was on Wednesday, and I was busy Tuesday and Wednesday, so this was the earliest we could record the conference championships. But Joe, happy belated birthday, and how are you doing today?
Thank you, Timmy B. I'm doing well. Happy belated birthday to you too.
Thank you. Got a birthday hat right here.
Attaboy. It's a great week. Flea Flicker birthdays all around. You love it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And quite a couple of conference championship games, Joe. But before that, any news in the NFL that you might be interested in talking about? We know with the Texans, they hired the Ravens' assistant head coach and passing game coordinator because our passing game was so electric this year.
Right.
David Collier's their new head coach. I'm all for it because of the new Rooney Rule stuff. We get 2 third-round picks, one this year and one next year. So I'm A-okay with that one. And then Deshaun Watson officially requesting a trade. And we were just talking right before that the news broke that the Panthers are going to be pretty aggressive in getting him, which I'd be totally for, like we talked about. But any other news in the NFL side from the couple of Super Bowl teams and the games recently that you might want to bring up right now?
Did we talk about the Matt Stafford as well?
We did not. I think that came out like right as we were recording or like right before. But yeah,
right.
it seems like Matt Stafford and the Lions are going to be parting ways, which I think could be the best for both teams. I mean, with the Lions, new head coach, try to bring that rookie head coach, rookie quarterback or a young quarterback in. And for Stafford, now for him, my guess would be he's trying to chase that ring. So we'll see who wants him and where he's going to go. I mean, a lot of people were saying the Patriots. I think that could be a good fit. So what about yourself, Joe? Where do you think Matt Stafford could go, or what do you think of that situation as a whole?
Well, right now I'm thinking the Colts for Matt Stafford. I know a lot of people, myself included, peg that as a good spot for Carson Wentz if he ends up getting dealt. But I was thinking about it, and I'm really not so sure if Indianapolis would be the spot for him to get traded to now, since Nick Sirianni is our head coach. And I mean, he was Frank Reich's offensive coordinator. I would imagine that they had conversations about Carson Wentz last year. So it's like, if Frank Reich was very positive about Carson Wentz and thought he was fixable and really thought that, he had the potential to get back to that 2017 form, I imagine Sirianni kind of thinks the same way and wouldn't trade him. But then it's like if it's the flip side and Frank Reich doesn't like Carson Wentz and doesn't think that he can get back to that form, then obviously that's not where he would get traded to. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of come off of the Colts trade with Carson Wentz. So I think Matt Stafford makes a lot of sense there as a very, I would say, a sure thing as a quarterback going into a situation that should definitely be viewed as desirable for, a quarterback of his caliber at this point in his career, kind of like Phillip Rivers last year. But it's crazy, all of the potential QB moves that could be happening this offseason. I mean, I think Adam Schefter tweeted out a list of, a ton of QBs, and it was like there were only 10 QBs that were probably not going anywhere. Or most likely not going anywhere. I'm trying to think who all is on the list. I mean, we already talked about Deshaun Watson, Matt Stafford, Carson Wentz. Let's see, Matt Ryan, potentially, Ben Roethlisberger, potentially, Sam Darnold, Jimmy Garoppolo, Cam Newton, so many names, Dak Prescott, so many.
And it's nice, Joe, as a Ravens fan, we have our quarterback, and the Eagles are quarterback factory, so you have your quarterback. Well, we don't know who it is, but at least you have somebody in place. But yeah, and it'll be interesting to see it, like you mentioned the Colts, because they just got Phillip Rivers. They went 10-6, was a wild card team. And are they going to do it again with a quarterback like Matt Stafford? I mean, I don't know how I feel if I was a Colts fan that the next couple of years when we have so much young talent offensively that we're like, let's just get that veteran quarterback. Let's get that veteran quarterback. Me, I might be like, let's get the young guy and spend all of our cap space on getting, another wide receiver or beefing up the offensive line or the defense. So, I mean, I think it would be a great fit for Matt Stafford, no doubt, but it would be interesting to see if the Colts kind of do that again, like they did with Phil Rivers, I think Matt Stafford has a couple more years. So I think
Right.
it would be a couple of year investment. So curious to see. I mean, like I said, the Patriots are always an option. They seem to need a quarterback. And I mean, like you said, with Schefter tweeting out, I think like 16 or 18 he was saying are could be on the move, or at least their starting job is in question. So this is going to be a fun offseason for quarterbacks. And like I said, as a Ravens fan, it's just going to be sit back and watch. And I mean, except for the Steelers, I mean, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, like the AFC North is relatively set.
Stable. Yeah.
And, the NFC East, I mean, the football team has questions. Daniel Jones is still in question. I mean, the Eagles, like, it's probably going to be
all we are is questions.
Right, yeah. And the other team, the Cowboys, you don't know with Dak. I mean, there's, like we were saying, there's only a handful of teams that are quarterbacks, but that's going to be interesting. There's something else in that happened recently, whether it was coach or player. I'm not – oh, God, I can't remember it.
I'm talking about the Seahawks player with the domestic violence guy you got.
Yeah, that's a story. I mean, I have no idea who he was, but that was a crazy story that he asked her to bow down to him or something like that. Like,
yeah, it's insane. I mean, there's no place for that. Shout out Nate Burleson, kind of shocking all of Good Morning Football and bringing it up because apparently it was not on the itinerary for them to discuss. And I think it's important that it's talked about. Like, we can't just let these things go by the wayside and not be talked about. I mean, this guy's a monster. He deserves to be in jail.
Even looks like one. Like the picture, like ESPN was tweeting out. I was like,
a scumbag.
That guy looks creepy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure if that was what you were thinking about. I guess not, but still, either way, something I think is important to mention because it's not good news, but it is news, and it's something that shouldn't be glossed over, overlooked because it's not a good look. I mean, it's still something very real, and these are still people at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's not a good thing. Thank God the Seahawks acted correctly and said, like, boom, he's gone. I mean, zero tolerance in the NFL, especially for that stuff. And you're right. I mean, Nate Burleson bringing it up, it is definitely a hot topic and or something to talk about. At least you can't give the cold shoulder at all. But that wasn't what I was thinking about. But I mean, it's been a week since we've recorded, Joe. So I mean, I think we covered all the head coaching. We covered some teams wanting a trade. So let's hop into the first game of Championship Sunday, the NFC Championship. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers went into Lambeau, beat the Packers by a score of 31-26, Joe. And I kind of said it while we were recording. All 10, 11 of us were on the Packers, and I was like, I kind of want to go with the Bucs, but I'm sticking with the Packers here because of that. So we cursed the Packers, and certainly the big story from this game is not only the Tampa Bay Buccaneers being the first team ever to play a Super Bowl in their home stadium. Two teams played in their hometown, just not – I think L.A. played at the Rose Bowl, but that wasn't their home stadium. And the 49ers played at Stanford for Super Bowl, but again, not their home stadium. But the first time in their home stadium. And the other big story, I guess the second big story is Tom Brady going to his 10th Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. But the big story is Matt LaFleur chose to kick a field goal down 8 points with 3 timeouts, I think with like 2:05 on the clock, so the 2-minute warning still there, so technically 4 timeouts. Down 8, I think they were at the 8 or 9 yard line, decided to kick a field goal, put his trust in his defense, was like, all we need to do is stop Tom Brady, which doesn't logically sound good. But the way he was playing, I mean, I see his thing. I still think it was the right idea. I know I'm like the 1%, but analytics say kicking a field goal was the right decision there. So, Joe, I would like to hear your thoughts. I know we texted all Sunday about it and all Monday about it. But what were your thoughts from not only that decision, but the game as well?
Yeah, I mean, with that decision specifically, I absolutely hated it. I was shocked at the time that, it's 4th down and goal. You're right there. You're down 8 and, there's only a little bit of time left. And you've got Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and you're not going to give him another shot. Mm-hmm. I was shocked, and I absolutely hated the call. I think it was an extremely cowardly call, and just takes the game out of the hands of your best players. I get it. It's 4th down, and you had 3 tries and you didn't get it, and you got all these timeouts, but. Yes, their defense just forced like 3 turnovers, I think, on the 3 drives preceding it. But, it wasn't like it was, one play pick or one play fumble. The Buccaneers
Mhm.
had been driving down the field a couple of times, gotten consecutive first downs, and then had some turnovers. Like I think one went off someone's hands. One was a fumble, and
Mhm.
then one was, Tom Brady kind of throwing it up almost like a punt. So yes, their defense had been making plays and forcing turnovers, but the Buccaneers were in that situation also trying to drive down the field and ice the game, go up another score. Now, you kick a field goal, you need to not only get a stop, but you need to prevent them from getting a first down. You need to prevent
Mhm.
Tom Brady from getting a first down. And that's what it comes down to me. You're putting it all on your defense to prevent a single first down rather than stopping them on that drive and getting the ball back. Because they
And
get that first down,
I
it's over.
will say that was a great call. Once they got like 8 yards on first down at the 2-minute warning to just go off sides to give them a 1st and 10 instead of
Yeah.
2nd and 2. I thought that was a great decision. But continue.
No, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's what they had to do to try to manage the clock, because of the situation that they
Mhm.
put themselves in. But I just hate it. I mean, it's Tom Brady. He just needs one first down, and we saw with the refs. They always help
Mhm.
Tom Brady out. That's coming, even
Yep.
when they've been letting him play all game. It was a terrible call on their part, but as a if you're Matt LaFleur, I just feel like that's not having any faith in Aaron Rodgers and in your offense, or maybe having too much faith in your defense. But either way, obviously it was the wrong call because it didn't work out. And again, like if they get the touchdown, then they need to go for two to tie it up. I get that, but if you kick the field goal, you also still need to go get the ball back and then go get a touchdown
Mhm.
again to win the game. You know, I I don't like the decision at all. In my mind, it seemed like a no-brainer that you go for it on 4th and goal. Um, maybe the numbers say otherwise, but to me, I mean, again, you've got Aaron Rodgers, you got Devontae
Mhm.
Adams. Rodgers had an opportunity to run it in himself, I think, on either second or third down, um, and he didn't. There's so many different things that could have happened, and now we'll never know. If
Yeah.
they go for it on 4th down and it's incomplete, it's a bad pass by Aaron Rodgers. It's a drop by a wide receiver. It's just a good defensive player, the wrong read. Then we can kind of say like, okay, this was definitively on Aaron Rodgers for making that bad throw at the end of the game, or he threw to a double covered Devontae Adams when he had a wide open Robert Tunyon, or it went off of Tunyon's hands, and that's why they lost the game. Now it's on Matt LaFleur.
Mhm.
Again, like they lost the game at the end of the day, so it was the wrong call. You will never know. Maybe they don't get it, and maybe we're saying the opposite argument. But I still say in that situation, with the way that your quarterback has played all season, um, and who he is, and who you've got, and what this means, and who you're going up against. Again, it is Tom Brady who just
Mhm.
needs to get one first down, and the referees. You're
Yeah.
fighting against a bunch of people. So put the ball in your best player's hands and give him the shot. Control your own destiny. Don't let it. Don't. God, I hate it. Don't let your defense be in that position. Don't put your whole team in that position. Um, and I mean, granted, Aaron Rodgers had opportunities to take advantage of throughout the second half of that game when the Bucks turned the ball over multiple times, and their defense stepped up. The Bucks defense was
Mhm.
able to stop Aaron Rodgers and get the ball back, force a punt. Yeah, they kept turning it over. Rodgers wasn't really doing anything with it until that drive when he got them down there to 4th and goal. I just think that was the wrong call, and they absolutely should have gone for it. Give your guys a chance. This is what you've been doing all year and how you've been winning games. Don't do this to, like, we
Right.
all knew it was going to happen. Tom Brady gets that first down every time. He always gets that one first down he needs. You won't not get it. So I just hate it. I hate it by Matt LaFleur. I think it was very cowardly. And if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm pissed off, which he was.
Yeah, no, and definitely so. And for me, I see both sides, and it's definitely a catch-22, or kind of like a Schrodinger's cat, because let's say they went for it, didn't get it, got the ball back, tied up the game. Buccaneers win the coin toss, go down and score a touchdown, game over. You don't give Aaron Rodgers a chance. then you might be saying, well, if they kick the field goal, but and there's so many different scenarios. But I think the big thing is on that third down is that Aaron Rodgers didn't run. And I don't know if he would have gotten a touchdown or not. It seemed like he had a lot of green space, but even if he only got, I think they were on the 8, even if he got halfway there, now you're talking 4th and goal from the 4, absolutely you go for that. And maybe LaFleur doesn't have a, 4th and goal from the 8 play call. Maybe, a lot. It's like
I also didn't have Aaron Jones for that as well.
Right. And, I think it comes down to so many things. I mean, I'm still leaning toward liking the decision because again, it's hard to explain like playing for the win because it's like, you obviously still need a touchdown, but now you just need a touchdown. You don't need that touchdown and 2-point conversion. And my thing with it is, whatever side you're on, it seems like a lot of people aren't, you should go for it. People are acting like because it's Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams that it was like a guaranteed touchdown. They're like, what do you mean? And I think that's kind of like what's gotten me going, thinking like really defending. I like the decision because so many people are like, dude, it's Aaron Rodgers. You would have scored a touchdown. I'm like, that's not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee.
Especially against a great Buccaneers defense who was getting pressure the entire game. I mean,
absolutely.
Rick Wagner was getting beat.
But you got to be aggressive to beat those teams.
Absolutely.
You got to call a Philly special on 4th and goal and go for it. That was a huge turning point in that Super Bowl for the Eagles. And I mean, that's been one of my favorite things about Doug Peterson, his aggressiveness to go for it on 4th down in those situations. I mean, I don't know. I just never want to put the game in someone else's hands to, potentially end it for me right there when I have the opportunity to control my own destiny to a degree. Because like you said, you tie it up, goes to overtime, Tom Brady gets the ball and scores, that's it. Okay, I didn't really have it in my own destiny there. It's fate with the coin flip and, then what happens. But, like I said, even if they kick the field goal or they kick the field goal, now you're hoping that you can prevent a first down and get the ball back. And then you're hoping that you can go all the way down the field and get into the end zone. You're right there. You're 9 yards away, one play, get it in, then you're 2 yards away. One play, get it in, it's a tie ball game. To me, I'm surprised that the analytics showed that it was the right call to, kick the field goal and hope for the best. Because to me,
it was like a difference of like a 1% like win chance. It wasn't like drastically a better decision. I think it was like 1% or like less than 5% of a difference of if you're going to win the game or not.
Yeah. And again, and that situation, I would definitely lean towards being aggressive because of who I'm playing against in Tom Brady and who I have as my quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. It's tough. I did not like it. I think Matt LaFleur, he comes from that Sean McVay tree kind of where, it's a he's not very aggressive. They don't go for it a lot. I'm not sure if they go strictly off the numbers or if they just are very conservative in general. But I never liked that in a head coach. I always want you to be aggressive and you put the game in your own hands rather than the other team's hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of it could be Matt LaFleur's inexperience of head coaching because you also have to consider. This was his second year, and he has Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. I mean, last year they were 13-3. This year, 13-3, 14-2. So his record as a head coach is like 27-5, and he hasn't really been put in these positions. Whereas, somebody who has, struggled, for a couple of games or a couple of seasons as a head coach, I think that they would have made the right decision. So who knows? And then
they couldn't call a timeout there to talk about it.
Yeah, because you needed that timeout.
Exactly.
And then the next question is, like you said, on that drive with Tom Brady, Packers, obviously there was defensive holding. It was blatantly obvious, but they didn't call it the entire game. And even Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on 5%, they're letting boys play the entire game, letting the boys play. And there's a lot of questions on both sides defensively of some, hand play, holding, potential pass interference. So where are you, Joe, on kind of like the officiating that you let the boys play? I think there was only 3 or 4 penalties total the entire game. And then the final 2 minutes, they decided to call it. Yes, it was, obvious from one angle. But my thing was, it was a very delayed call, and it was the back judge who was 30 yards away throwing the flag. So I would like, what are kind of your thoughts on that play and kind of the officiating that went down? Because I mean, that's also a hot topic from this game.
Right. I mean, I definitely don't like it. I definitely don't want the refs to be the ones to make such a controversial call, at the end of the game that, decides the outcome essentially. But at the same time, I never want, my team to be in a position where the refs are deciding the game. I get it. They were playing, letting them play all game, and there was a lot of hand fighting and a lot of contact throughout the game. And I also agree it was a delayed flag, coming all the way from the back judge. What that tells me is that in that moment, it wasn't like just contact. He was grabbing his jersey, and you could see it. And if you're a back judge that far away and you can see a jersey being pulled, it's blatant. It's obvious. I mean, I get it. And I see it, like you said, I see both sides, because they weren't throwing them for the majority of the game, and then they throw that huge call at the end, and I hate that. But also, don't tug a jersey. I don't get that. Like, why do these DBs continue to tug jerseys and think they can get away with it? Like, you get away with it maybe one out of 10 times. Like, you can have your hand on someone, just keep up with them. You're an athlete. Like, should be able to. This is a rookie. It was Tyler Johnson, or is that right? Out of Minnesota.
Yeah, great wide receiver, by the way. Tom Brady loves him, apparently.
Yeah, he's had a really good rookie year. Well, not statistically, I would say, because of so many weapons, but when he gets in, he makes plays. And has very clutch plays constantly. So, it's not someone that it's not like it's Tyreek Hill and you have to grab his jersey or else he's going to take a top off for a touchdown.
Right.
It's just do your job, be disciplined, play good defense, and don't put yourself in that position where, the ref has the opportunity to throw the flag. So it's tough.
Yeah, my thing is on the officiating, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, is I think that there needs to be a little bit more accountability when it comes to officiating, because we see in the NBA and even the NHL and even for baseball, if there are some bad calls, you will see like the NBA come out like the next day and be like, yeah, they missed that call. It should have gone this way. Like, not like tough shit, but it's kind of like, hey, sorry that the outcome of the game happened. You should have had, an opportunity for free throws or whatever, baseball,
Right.
saying like, you don't see that in the NFL. You don't see like Dean Blandino or even Roger Goodell being like, these refs made that, incorrect call, or they should have called this, they should have called that. You just don't see that accountability. So that's one thing I would like to see kind of in the future is, nobody's perfect.
There should be press conferences for referees after games like that, where there's a controversial call there, or like last year with the Saints and the Rams, or is that 2 years ago?
Yeah, I don't even think on that play the NFL came out and been like, yeah, they probably should have called it. Like, there just needs to be some more accountability from these referees and the league. Like,
and consistency.
Right. And it does suck if you're a Packers fan, but if the NFL came out and said like, hey, yeah, those refs, effed up. They should have called this or that. Like, obviously they're not going to overturn the game like that Rams Saints, but at least just admitting being like, yes, these refs did F up, we're suspending them a week or something like that. I don't know. Like there needs to be some sort of more accountability for these referees. And, even kind of changing. I think this year, Jamie Collins got ejected because he was explaining like a helmet to helmet hit, and he accidentally like lowered his head into like the ref.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're ejected, penalty. Like, dude, come on. Like, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, like if you like actually do force or push ref, sure, by all means you can get ejected. But I think even Matthew Judon got ejected because like he accidentally, like when he was getting up, like he kind of like swung his arm and it hit like hit a ref. It's kind of like, all right, dude, like that was an accident.
Clearly
like,
incidental contact.
Right, yeah.
Like, let's relax.
Yeah. So yeah, but and I'm looking at the stats right now because I got the 2-screen action right now, Joe, and Tom Brady and one of our friend of the program, Eric Sawyer, who's come on multiple times, he went on quite a Twitter rant, Joe. I don't know if you saw that, about Tom Brady being the greatest of all time, and there's no denying that he is up there, and I think there's obviously can be some debate, but he's definitely top 3 in everybody's book. I think you'd be crazy if you didn't have a Tom Brady and at least your top 3. But he was saying how people are acting like he like did this and like he had 3 interceptions. And yes, he did have 3 touchdowns, but people are like, oh my God, he's like the greatest ever. Like that Scotty Miller touchdown to end the half. Like, not saying that like many quarterbacks can make that throw, but it's kind of like, all right, like, any quarterback with a break. Right. It was terrible defense. It was a broken play. Yes, got to give Tom Brady the credit for recognizing that and making the throw. But you're telling me that somebody like a Matt Stafford doesn't recognize that and make the throw, and I think that's my thing with Brady. And I kind of agree with Sawyer. It's that like he is one of the greatest of all time, but like completing a pass, and he said like the Buccaneers, whatever team Tom Brady's on, could win a game 7-0, and the only score would be a pick 6, and people would be like, I mean, that's just Tom Brady being the GOAT. Like, and I'm like, okay, we can calm down a little bit. And he was saying today on their Splay and Light comedy podcast, he was like, that's the same thing in like the NBA. Like if they're like Steph Curry hits a wide open 3, people be like, oh my God, like what's like, okay, like he hit an open 3. Let's calm down a little bit. So I think that's kind of where I am as well. And I think it's just funny too. They tweeted out there like, oh, the Tom Brady effect, like the Tampa Bay Rays went to the World Series. The Tampa Bay Lightning went to the Stanley Cup final. And they were like, must be the Tom Brady effect. I'm like, okay, first of all, everybody was predicting the Rays or the Lightning at least to be in the, Eastern Conference Finals or the American League champion, in the final 2 teams going to play. So it's not like these 2 teams were like absolutely garbage and then out of nowhere Tom Brady shows up and they were good. But I just want to hear your thoughts, kind of like I guess, Tom Brady hype. I mean, there's no denying he's one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback of all time. But like sometimes it's kind of like, all right, like,
I'll say this: he has a lot of things go his way.
Absolutely.
It's crazy how many things seem to go his way. Like, it can, they can be down like 5 points and 2 minutes to go. It's 4th and 10. I know they're gonna get that first down. There's no doubt in my mind. Like 4th and 10, Tom Brady, game's on the line. I know that the first down is gonna happen because either somebody's gonna happen to be wide open and Tom Brady's gonna identify him. There's gonna be a penalty. Whatever it is, and a lot of that, these are little things that, maybe anybody can do it like a Matt Stafford or someone like that. But I think we still have to give credit where it's due in terms of just, he's the greatest mind, I think, of any quarterback to ever play the game. I mean, he processes everything on the field before and during and after the snap so much faster than anyone else. That's the thing. Sometimes, he happened to throw it to the receiver with the guy who happened to fall down on the play, or where the coverage was messed up, or there's a penalty or whatever. But he threw it to Tyler Johnson on that play and gave him that opportunity. He identified that he had his man beat slightly and forced that to happen. Yeah, that's not necessarily him doing all this and all that and being so elite. And he did not have a great game. 3 turnovers. I think it's the last 2 games that the Buccaneers have played, they've led in the turnover margin, but still won. And that rarely happens, especially in the playoffs. And what do you know? Both times are with Tom Brady. So it's just like these things happen and they just tend to go his way. Like he throws that duck of an interception down the field to Mike Evans, but we're not really that mad about it because it was more like a punt than an interception. So we're like, yeah, it's an interception, but whatever. The other interception, it went off of that guy's hands. Jair Alexander returned it far. Then the Packers, I don't think they got any points off of it. Maybe a field goal. But so little things like that. He's having it go his way. So we're not really talking about or emphasizing those negatives so much. Like the Super Bowl with Philadelphia, everything went his way that entire game, essentially, especially in the second half for their offense, until Brandon Graham forces that fumble and makes that play. And I would say 9 times out of 10, there's some penalty down the field that, was going on that would be called, or, Brandon Graham would accidentally brush his face mask and they'd throw a flag or something like that. So, like I said, a lot of things tend to go his way, but there's still no denying that
Right.
he puts himself and he puts his team in position to have those calls go his way. And I think that's a trait that, can't really be overstated enough.
Yeah, no, and you said it too. And I think going back to the field goal decision, that could have factored in too, being like, we got 3 interceptions, recovered a fumble. We only got 3 points, 6 points. I don't know how many points off the turnovers they got, but maybe that also went in the decision too, being like, we gave Aaron Rodgers a lot of opportunities, or like our defense created more opportunities and we didn't execute. And that's another thing. But I'm with you as well. I mean, there's no denying he's one of the best, and it's just interesting to see how kind of like the media portrays, and even with like a guy like Mahomes. Earlier this year, Stafford kind of made like some like sidearm pass.
Right.
And it was like, if that was Patrick Mahomes, ESPN would cover it, Bleacher Report, all this, blah, blah, blah. So it is interesting how the media kind of portrays. But I agree with you, and I agree with our friend of the pod or friend of the show, Eric Sawyer. I mean, there are some moments where I'm kind of like, all right, like let's calm down. He's great, but like I could have made that pass,
Yeah. Exactly.
But any final thoughts from the Buccaneers winning and going to the Super Bowl against the Green Bay Packers, not only from the stories of the game, but the game itself?
I'm devastated once again that the State Farm Bowl is not happening. Like, once again, what the people deserved, what we've been asking for, what we need. Now we don't know if it's ever going to happen again, or ever will happen. So I'm disappointed with Aaron Rodgers and with the Packers and with Matt LaFleur, because it is not all on Matt LaFleur. It is not all on Aaron Rodgers. You're not all on that defense. I mean, that team, really let themselves down in a lot of aspects in that game, and they let America down. So I'm disappointed. Come on, it's like Tom Brady's like a Sith Lord or something. Like, I swear, it's the Empire coming at you, and you got to figure out a way to win. And Empire won again.
Yeah, but good news is we at least get half a State Farm representative with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Buffalo Bills by a score of 38-24. Bills didn't play that bad of a game. I mean, they went up 9-0. They got a field goal in their first drive to go up 3-0. Then they, they recovered a muffed punt at the 2. Obviously, you scored a touchdown. Didn't make the extra point. So it was 9-0 at the end of the first quarter. And not saying that the Chiefs always do this, but last year they were down 24-0, 10-0, 14-0, and came back. But it was just never a doubt when the second quarter started. And I think that's why the Chiefs are such a dangerous team, aside from everything that makes them so dangerous, is that they're going into this game saying, we're at least scoring 30-plus points, 34, 35, or whatever. So we know, like, we're going to score that amount of points. And I think that's kind of what makes them dangerous too, is, when they went down 9-0, they were like, yeah, no worries. We're still going to put up 35 and win this game. So I think that's one reason why they're so dangerous. And then again, Bills were just playing for field goals, which, at the time when it's, 21-9 and 21-13, that's fine if you kick a field goal there to at least make it a one-score game. But when it's that fourth quarter, late third quarter, fourth quarter, and you're down, 31-20, 31-24, it's kind of like, all right, we gotta get some touchdowns now.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking at the stats, I mean, Josh Allen, and we'll talk about this in the offseason, again, the leading rusher for the Bills, 7 rushes, 88 yards, which are great numbers, but and he's a quarterback who can run, but they really need to establish a running game and get Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. And they were both injured this season, games here and there, but they really need to establish that run game, beef up that offensive line a little bit. And then, on the flip side, the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, Kelsey had 10 catches, 100-something yards, touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 9 catches, 172 yards. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, 325 yards. So, I mean, it was never a doubt the Chiefs were going to win this game, even when they went down early. And, sometimes it takes a little time, but, it's 21 points in the second quarter. I mean, at halftime, I'm like, game over. Like, Chiefs won.
Mm-hmm.
But, Joe, what were your thoughts from this Bills-Chiefs AFC Championship game?
Yeah, it was kind of similar to what you were saying. I mean, when they got down early, I just wasn't worried. I just wasn't concerned. I just knew, and they knew too, that it's only a matter of time until they are going to score points. I think they only had the ball 1 time in the first quarter, maybe 2. I think that they went 3 and out. or, ended up punting on their first drive. And then, the second drive, they muffed the punt and the Bills got it back. And then I think they got the ball back and either ended up punting on that drive or the second quarter started. But they barely had the ball in the first quarter. We knew that offense was going to get going. And so when, kind of off the start, when the Bills kicked a field goal on their first drive after going all the way down there, to me, it just kind of set the tone for the game. Like, you're not going to beat the Chiefs kicking field goals. It's the playoffs. They're going to have a great game plan ready to attack your defense. And you've got to be able to put up points and keep pace with them and take advantage. So, I mean, maybe if they were up 14-0 or 13-0, I guess, at the beginning, then maybe the game goes a little bit differently. But, I really don't think so because, like you said, the Chiefs are so good at just exploiting weaknesses in whatever defense you're gonna present. I mean, you're gonna play two safeties deep and prevent Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce from taking the top off. Fine, we'll nickel and dime you up and down the field and just hit the underneath routes and see what happens with the run after the catch. And we saw a huge run after the catch touchdown by Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce is always great with the ball in his hands. We saw, trick plays with Mecole Hardman, on the end around and screens. I mean, it's so hard to defend this offense. There's so many different ways that they can attack you and, like I said, exploit the defense. So, it was a very different game from the Bucs and Packers game where I felt like that could go kind of either way. But I don't know, like before the game started, I was kind of like, maybe the Bills do this. But like once the game started, when it was 9-0, I just kind of sat back like, okay, well, here come the Chiefs.
Right.
I just kind of knew what was going to happen and just never really had a doubt for any of that game. So, I feel like there's not a ton of takeaways from this game, except for the fact that, the props of the Chiefs defense for also being able to slow down and contain this Bills offense. I'm sure you got Stephon Diggs stats pulled up there.
Yeah, he wasn't the leading receiver. The leading receiver was Cole Beasley with actually the same amount of rushing yards as Josh Allen. 7 for 88 rushing attempts and yards for Josh Allen. Cole Beasley, 7 catches, 88 receiving yards. But, yeah, I mean.
And on a broken fibula.
On a broken fibula as well. But Stephon Diggs, 6 catches, 77 yards. The longest was 34. So, really, 5 catches for 30, 35 yards and off of 11 targets. So, yeah, they really contained him. And that was the key for the Ravens that I said. It's like Stephon Diggs can get his, multiple catches. He can get his targets. But the key is, can we tackle him immediately to make sure he doesn't break away for that 25 or 30-yard game? I was like, and kind of like Derrick Henry, it's kind of like he can have those 100 yards if he wants, but make sure it's on 10, 11 catches, only averaging 9, 10 yards a catch and not 6 catches, and he's averaging 25 yards per catch. So that was that. I mean, Dawson Knox, I thought he had a great game, 6 for 42 and a touchdown. I mean, the touchdown was, kind of a gimme, but I mean, yeah, so definitely, like you said, Joe, not much to talk about. I mean, this was just a classic. Chiefs are the best team in the AFC, and they showed everybody why, scoring 38 points. And the Bills are right there, too. I mean, I would probably put the Bills at number 2 in the AFC power rankings. Going into next year, I think the Chiefs are obviously number 1, but the Bills are right there at number 2, a couple of pieces here and there. And it could be, like a thing with the Patriots. It's kind of like, hey, like 7, 8, 9 times out of 10, Chiefs are winning. But can we win that? Can we get that 1, 2, 3 times this weekend? Maybe. Yeah, I mean, Chiefs are good. And another thing I'm looking at the stats, too, is that Bills just didn't get a turnover. And one of the keys to beating the Chiefs is taking the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. If you don't get a turnover, I mean, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw an interception, they're probably winning the game. And, I mean, right. I think the Chiefs only had 1 interception, maybe a fumble as well. So, I mean, the turnover battle wasn't too crazy, but you at least got to get an interception or 2, give your team 1 extra possession to try to put up with the Chiefs because, like I said, they're going to score 30 or more points every week. And you just have to, kind of like in their couple of losses this year, you just have to score more points than they do.
Yeah, 100%. It's so hard to beat the Chiefs. And, I think that, who was it? Tre'Davious White after the game might have mentioned that, they know the road to the Super Bowl in the AFC, it goes through Kansas City. You got to get past Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs if you want to make it to the Super Bowl. And I mean, the Bills looked like this year's best chance to do it. So the fact that they didn't, and not only that, but it never really felt close, I think it just speaks volumes to how the Chiefs are just on such a higher level than anybody else in the NFL right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're here to stay. I mean, Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, I think even Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman, they're all under contract for like the next. I mean, Edwards-Helaire too, rookie deal. I mean, they're all under contract for the next. I think at least 4, 5, 6 years. I don't know what the exact years. So they're here to stay. As a Ravens fan, it's not going to be fun playing them the next couple of years. Hopefully, we do have fans this upcoming season because we got them at home again. And then as a Ravens fan as well, we want Hollywood Brown to be a number one wide receiver. Look at Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs. They're not treating him like a 6'4" wide receiver and throwing him jump balls. They're getting him in space and utilizing his speed. And that's what we need to do for Hollywood Brown. But yet the Super Bowl is going to go through Kansas City for the next couple of years in the AFC. And much like, Tom Brady and the Patriots, everybody was like, hey, we know we're going to be there in Foxborough late January. We got to make sure that we win that game. Ravens are very good at doing that. But, Joe, now we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I know we're going to do our Super Bowl preview next week, maybe another episode. I'll talk to you right after this. But gut reaction after, it's Thursday, so 3-4 days kind of gut reaction. Give us a little appetizer. Give us a little peek. What's kind of going in your head right now? You don't have to make a pick, but, what are you liking so far? And, where are you kind of leading right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of cool storylines with, Tom Brady back in the Super Bowl, the Buccaneers hosting the Super Bowl, and it's also like, kind of like the old era NFL, Tom Brady, and the new era NFL, Patrick Mahomes facing off, the best QB of all time, most likely, in Tom Brady, and, the next up and coming who could potentially, break all of his records, which, if he continues on this trajectory, he's on track to.
Yeah.
And
in like 2 years.
He also has to, he also has to play at least 43 probably. But we'll see. So, I mean, that matchup, I do love that, Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. I think that if there is it's tough because I would have also, like I said, I would have loved to see Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes, and that Packers offense. But this is also an offense that has a ton of weapons in the NFC between Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, healthy, Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette, Scotty Miller, Gronk, Tyler Johnson. I mean, this is a team that at the skill position might be able to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs. I would say are probably right there with them, right behind them. And then you got Tom Brady, who has been here constantly and knows what he's doing and, can manage the game. I mean, it's going to be really interesting because like we've said, Tom Brady turned the ball over a couple times in these last few playoff games, still managed to win. That rarely happens in the playoffs. And on the flip side, we're seeing the Chiefs play turnover-free football. So I think that's really going to be one of the key matchups. I mean, is Tom Brady going to continue to turn the ball over? Is he going to take care of the football? And, this be a really close game because I think it should be. I think it should be a really good game. But like I said, it's hard to say that anybody is on the same level as the Chiefs. So I guess that's kind of where I'm leaning. But, I'll say it's Tom Brady, so you never know. And we've said things seem to go his way time and time again. The ball always seems to bounce his way. So I don't know. The storyline seems almost like too perfect for the Buccaneers not to win. I feel like a lot of people are going to pick the Chiefs. And, most people probably are because I would say, they are the better team. But this is classic Tom Brady, like he's, like you're going to count me out. Like I'm on a new team. I'm too old. Like, well, I've got weapons too. We're, hosting the Super Bowl. I've got people who are going to be rooting for the Buccaneers in the stands at the Super Bowl. I don't know. It's going to be tough to pick against Tom Brady too, because like I said, like it just seems kind of like a, like a fairy tale ending. Like, he's about to ride off into the sunset. I mean, I don't know if he'll be back next year or not. He says until 45, but if you win the Super Bowl going to a new team in your first year, you're at home, like, in Tampa Bay doing this, like, against Patrick Mahomes,
Mhm.
why not go out on top like this? Like, why stick around and wait for the eventual decline that we know is going to come, and just have to look in the mirror and be like, okay, like, I had a bad year, like, I can't do this anymore, we didn't make it to the playoffs, I'm not really that guy anymore, now I'm going to retire. Go out on top.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it seems like the perfect fairy tale ending for Tom Brady that he always seems to typically get. It
Yeah.
always seems to go his way, unless it's Philadelphia or Eli Manning. But so I don't know. It's going to be tough to figure this one out, because I mean, both these teams on all three phases and on the coaching sides are really talented. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a good game too. And they played in, I think, week 12 or 13, and it was 27-24 Chiefs. So it definitely was a good game. It was also in Tampa Bay, so both teams are used to playing each other in Raymond James Stadium, or whatever they call it right now. I'm with you, Joe. I think I'm leaning Chiefs. I mean, it's hard to pick against the Chiefs right now, and we've been saying that the last month and a half. And I think a big thing for me right now is the Chiefs were just here last year. The Buccaneers don't have that much Super Bowl experience outside of like Brady and Gronk and maybe a player here and there. And when NFL players always talk about the Super Bowl, they always say it's just such a different game. It's such a different atmosphere. Warm-ups are extra long, halftime is extra long. So that could play a little bit of a factor. Yes, you are in your home stadium, but you're kind of thrown off a little bit, and it's just a different kind of atmosphere. So that'll be one thing to look at. And can't wait to talk about the Super Bowl preview and get our official picks next week, especially after some storylines come out. It's going to be an interesting one this year too. I mean, the Chiefs aren't traveling this weekend, and they're not doing, media day and, like Super Tuesday or whatever. They're not, I mean, they'll probably do virtual that, but that's just more time to practice. And right now, giving Andy Reid 2 weeks to come up with and Bieniemy to come up with a creative offensive plan. I mean, honestly, it's more time to come up with the game plans and practice and everything. I don't think that the Chiefs are going the day before the Super Bowl that Saturday. So, I mean, that could also be a factor, but very excited to talk about that next week and get our official picks, Joe. But that's going to do it for this week and our conference championship recap. If you guys would, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment your thoughts on the conference championship games, and give us a little preview of your Super Bowl taste. But Joe, any final words from you?
It's really all I got. I mean, there's been a couple, hires for the Eagles coaching staff that, I could definitely blather on and on about, but we'll save that for the off-season edition, and kind of dive into some of that stuff then. It was a fun weekend of football. I wish that the Bills and Chiefs games had been closer and more exciting, and had me on the edge of my seat. But honestly, by the fourth quarter in that one, I just kind of tuned out a little bit. So I'm really excited for this game, because I mean, with Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, they're pretty much always going to try to be the last one with the ball and win the game on their own. And that might be what happens. So I'm really excited to see this Super Bowl matchup.
Absolutely. Same here. Can't wait to hear about your thoughts on the Eagles coaching hires in our offseason preview with the NFC East. But guys, that's going to do it for us. That's Joey D. I'm Timmy B. Everybody have a great day, and we will see you soon. Peace.